After suffering a huge ratings drop in the third week, we now have to wonder, has the TGL finally got exactly what they wanted? We had the big headliners, Tiger and Rory last night, and the match was in a lot of ways truly what they've been looking for, and we saw that in the comments that have been rolling in. We're going to talk about what Tiger said. We're going to talk about what Rory said. We're going to talk about what we're seeing and hearing on social media from the fans. But the TGL is not the only story here. We're also wondering, is LIV getting exactly what it wanted? And we saw the big signing of Rick Shields, and I want to talk about what exactly I think that indicates for LIV and also for Rick, because it's not all roses here. We saw Rick have a massive drop in subscribers. 20,000 people unsubscribed from his channel when he went over to LIV. So I want to hear your take. We're gonna light it up in the comments. We're gonna hear what you guys have to say about it as well. But of course, first we got to thank this week's sponsor, Titleist. And if you're wondering how does the best get better, now you're going to find out, because the new Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X are available for purchase. And it's hard to believe, but the official launch of the Pro V1 was way back in 2000. So this is the 25th anniversary of the Pro V1. And if you're wondering what's new, well, Titleist R&D asked players what they wanted in the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X. And what they said was more spin on those scoring shots into the green. And both models now give us that increased spin, but also provide more distance off the tee with more control on irons. We had the opportunity to play them. We were just down in Florida last week for the PGA show, put them into play. I've been playing the Pro V1 forever. I love it. I love the soft feel that I get around the greens, and I'm just loving that we've leveled up with the brand new ball. So now's your chance to go out and try it as well. So go to Titleist.com. You can find out everything about the new Pro V1, the new Pro V1X, even the Pro V1X Left Dash. I'm telling you, 2025 is the year, 25th anniversary. Congrats to Titleist. Go and check it out. Now, Mike, I got a chance to watch the match last night, and I felt like really that TGL had all of everything coming together of what they wanted to finally happen.
Seems like they're figuring it out.
It does.
Week by week. And it was interesting because it had the hype. So it certainly had me excited. Like I remember last night, I just said, all right, 6:30, we got Tiger prime time again. He's going against Rory. So the hype was built. And I like the fact that, he had a good squad. Tom Kim was actually entertaining. I thought it was fun.
You know what? And that's, I think, a lot of what a lot of us thought. And I want you guys to weigh in the comments if you agree. A lot of some of that energy, and you've heard us, we recently did a whole episode on it. And I said the one thing that I felt like that was lacking was the real feel of competition.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, when you don't have competition, it even feels like the banter is largely manufactured. And then, of course, what put this huge amount of doubt in everyone's mind was Billy Horschel recently saying that, the producers told them to keep it close. And truth be told, watching his delivery, and I know afterwards a lot of mitigation of that tried to come in of saying he was joking, and I know he can have a little bit of a dry sense of humor, which is why you have to put it through that lens. But I inspected it closely, and I'm like, in a lot of ways, and one thing we're going to talk about too, we got to attend that event. We were there that night. We're going to do a whole other podcast just breaking down that fan experience of what it's like being on the ground. So in a way, there was nothing about it that felt like the match was thrown or anything. So it's hard to kind of decipher. I want you guys to let us know in the comments, what did you think about Billy's comments? Is it something that, he was joking, or do you feel like really like he let the cat out of the bag, that this is something that it's not competition and it's, it's in a way it's kind of scripted? I personally don't think so. I'll tell you why in a second, but what's your thought?
Well, I don't think it's scripted, but I do think that everybody knows that we need a close match. This is a startup league.
Yeah.
They trying to build excitement. I mean, everyone was talking about it like leading up to week 2 and then week 3. It's like we need closer matches.
Yeah.
So we all knew that.
For something and creating something are two totally different things.
Exactly. Right.
But what I'm saying is so last night we had the tight match that we wanted, that everyone wanted to see. It went to overtime. We had our first ever overtime. We'll talk about that in a second, about the overtime format, whether or not we like that. But we have again, as it got closer, you had a lot more pressure. You had like we said, the banter really was in a place where it felt a lot less forced. It felt like we were getting that real feel from the players. And again, going back to what I was saying before, the number one complaint we've had about TGL, and we did an entire podcast on this, was that in order for us as fans to get behind teams, to start buying merch, to do all that stuff, is we had to feel like they're out there, they cared, and the competition was real.
Of course, right.
Well, I think last night was the first time for me that it really felt that way. I felt like the first 3 matches were very light, were the players out there having fun. And there's nothing of me, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away that they should have fun out there. I want it to be enjoyable. I'm not, we don't think of this as a replacement for the PGA Tour or LIV and stroke play. What I think of it as is a supplement of another form of golf. I think this will ever rival the full intensity of the Ryder Cup? No. But I do want to see competition, guys trying to win. We've been given this story forever of Tiger being the ultimate competitor. I wanted to see that. And last night, in a lot of ways, we did. We saw, Tiger's face, like being out there, just the intangibles, even when Kim hit a bad shot and like the expression on his face or falling to the ground after that bunker shot that almost went in. If that was acting, then we need to start talking about Emmys and Oscars.
Yeah,
right. I feel like that was not manufactured. It felt very real. We also had the first shot clock violation.
Yeah.
And of all the people, it was Tiger Woods that got it. Lost the hole because of that shot clock violation. Now, he missed the putt. You could say because the buzzer going off is why he missed that putt. But the reality is we're seeing that the shot clock is something that can be put into play in golf. We see that the TGL is going to take that rule seriously. The second that shot clock happened, the Boston team was given the stroke and that hence given the hole, and that was it. So I think a lot of stuff that happened last night, a lot of things clicked into place that needed to click into place.
I think so. I mean, 4 weeks in, it's finding its footing. We were talking about this actually the other night in our Discord. Guys were chatting about TGL, and they were talking about the current state of PGA Tour scheduling from January up into the Masters. And we're saying, like, there's some exciting events. You've got the players in there. You had a chance to see Riviera. Unfortunately, not this year, but the only chance you get to see Riviera on TVs for the Genesis. Bay Hill, if you're into that. But otherwise, like, golf for us fans, I don't think it really gets truly exciting until the Masters kicks off and it goes all the way to the Ryder Cup, right? So I think this schedule of just being like a January through March evening thing could in fact work. And I feel like they're getting there and they're taking everyone's criticism and they're just trying to improve on it. Even the players too. Like, I noticed that too last night. I think the teams were coming together a little bit. We saw some more competition, guys pumping each other, getting excited. I think that's what it needs. It just needs more time. Maybe it's 2, 3, 4 more weeks until more and more people just jump on. That's my take on it. That's
what it really leads me to wonder, and we're going to hit on this in a second really hard, is that the one who's ultimately falling behind the PGA Tour?
It seems like it.
Because now the PGA Tour, and I give them this, they haven't hit their stride yet. They haven't hit the best part of the season. I get that.
Yep.
But on the same token, we're now seeing that the TGL is pulling more viewership. Now, I will say it's probably easier to pull higher viewership when you're on ESPN in prime time, on a weeknight, following up like a Duke game. You know what I mean? They've got a lot of good things. Like, someone very smartly positioned them in a spot to set them up for big views.
Yeah.
But all that aside, they're getting better viewership than a lot of the PGA Tour events have gotten so far. And what we're going to talk about in a second, LIV really winning over the whole YouTube space and a whole new audience, which I want to dive into.
Yeah, big time.
2 other things, though, that I want to talk about real quick with TGL before we move on. One was we almost had TGL's first truly viral moment where Anthony Kim missed a hole-in-one by inches. And
Tom Kim,
sorry. Missed. Look at me. Missing.
You're going way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, way back.
Now we're talking a real viral moment.
Yes.
Right?
Huge.
Anthony Kim's
Internet blows up.
on TGL.
Yeah.
Misspoke. So if that had gone in, and we're talking about the drama of it going past the pin and slowly rolling back.
Yeah.
And what really we've seen culturally with hole-in-one kind of culture, where you see like driven by things like Barstool and stuff like that, where they're just going until they hit a hole-in-one.
Yep.
I think that could have been a big viral moment that would have blasted all over social media and brought a lot of attention. That's a big first one. But also it's just like I said, the personalities really showing up, and you're seeing things like Tom Kim, like the younger demographic, and really kind of bringing that in. He's a young guy and up and coming, and I think in a lot of ways those were two things that cannot be overlooked this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was definitely. I'm curious to see what the ratings are going to be. I think they're going to be like close to like I'm gonna guess week 1 type ratings.
I think it could be the biggest ratings yet.
Yeah,
because not only you have the Tiger effect, you've also got Rory. Oh, and two other things that I can't let this go by without saying. We had celebrities show up in force last night.
Yep.
I think there was probably more celebrities at that match than any other one to date, including the opener. Mm-hmm. And the second thing was we had the big moment. We got to witness for the first time overtime. Now, if you watched it, I want to hear your take as well. Did you think that overtime, that's the proper way to play this out? What do you think?
Yeah.
You tell me, and then I'll tell you what
I will
think.
tell you, but I will say first, I bet the comments will be 50-50. I'm going to bet that right now. Okay. All right, because I think it's a love-hate situation. I thought it was okay. I almost would rather something a little more exciting, and maybe the overtime is the closest to the pin, but like a 300-yard drivable par 4 into the screen. Let's use the screen. Like, I know they want to go over to that side and just do real feel, but let's hit something longer and let's use the screen. Let's use the tech.
Okay, but you still like the format of...
I think close to the pin is cool because like that's like a dude's weekend type thing. That's an outing type thing. We don't see the PGA Tour pros do it. Yeah. It's a good chance to see it there.
I'll tell you, here's why I liked it. One, I think it kept up with the one thing that's been the common denominator in TGL has been speed. Whether it was, again, we'll talk about our experience being there as a fan, watching it live or watching it on television. One thing a lot of people keep commenting on, it seems mostly positive, is how quickly it goes, especially with the shot clock. So I think you needed an overtime that also moved equally as quickly.
Yeah, true.
Secondly, what I got penalty kicks vibes out of it, and or penalty shots in hockey, soccer, hockey, whatever it may be. I know there's a love-hate with that because some people will say we play this whole long match or game and it comes down to just this, but it's fair and it moves quickly.
Sure.
It moved very fast. I enjoyed seeing them hit that little 30-yard pitch, those low-flighted wedges, and watch them check up and try to stop them.
Some check. Kisner didn't check.
Exactly.
Kim checked.
Then they're working off each other. They're learning where do you need to land it, saving the heavy hitters for last. Tiger and Rory were, in the hole, ready to go, if they hadn't already won it so quickly. So I like the quick action of it. I like the fact that it felt to me like a little more traditional golf because there was no simulator screen involved.
Okay.
But I could see maybe it's an experiment with a closest to the pin,
with one of those lava holes with right. You know what I'm saying? But
right.
I think that they got it right in that they didn't do an extra hole because I think at that point the fans, the players were done.
Yeah,
we saw a lot of the screen, everything. It's like, all right, switch it up now again for sudden death. Don't just play extra holes.
Yeah, I think you because you brought up before we move on to talking about LIV, because you brought it up. There's one thing a gripe that I do have, and this might just be a pet peeve. You guys can tell me in the comments. I'm not personally digging the lava.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there's enough drama to be had in the wise layouts of the holes. And I like the idea of celebrating golf architecture and even getting more of a take from the architects of what is the beauty of the hole and what makes the strategy of it. I think to a certain extent, what kind of takes away from the realness that creates the competition, that creates more traditional golf fans being involved in it, is the silliness of having like lava.
Yeah.
Like a hazard's a hazard. I don't need lava.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, I think that puts off more people than it draws in. Because like, who's it drawing in? Like, kids who are used to playing video games, like that there's lava everywhere. I don't know if that's what they're after.
Right.
I could be way off base and you guys can let me know. But I personally feel like
Frank, not a lava guy.
I think a little, you can use length. You can use a little bit more realistic.
The cliffs are okay. The Grand Canyons.
Even that, like all I need is a tight fairway, water, and some hazard and some sand. You know what I'm saying? I more so would rather geek out about the layout. I'd rather them spend more time talking about the look into the green and which is a better approach, which gives you more green to work with. Okay. More traditional type of golf stuff than being like, he's got to carry it over lava. Like
He's got to carry it over a circus with a Ferris wheel.
That could be me just like, when are we going to introduce the clown that spits it back out like Happy Gilmore? Anyway, let's do a quick word from our sponsor. Then I want to come right back and I want to talk about whether or not LIV has gotten exactly what it wanted, what it means for Rick Shields, because that's the big LIV news. And I also want to talk about who's really winning the war of attention, and is the PGA Tour falling behind because of all of it?
I was going to say, is LIV going to become the king of the crop one day? Are they leading the pack? Are they doing what they need to do? I
feel like in at least one place they definitely are. So let's do a word from our sponsor. We'll come right back to it.
All right, guys. Big thanks to FootJoy for supporting the show. I mean, they are unquestioned the leader in performance golf rainwear, especially with their new Thermo series of outerwear. It's still cold out. It's actually warming up a little bit. It was in the teens up here in New York, New Jersey. We're actually in the 30s. Still cold. So we need Thermo series. I mean, real golfers, if there's no snow, they're going to go play. They're going to try to make every day playable. And FootJoy, they understand that. So Thermo Series, the most advanced layering system ever, was designed to effortlessly adapt as weather conditions evolved. I mean, you're able to stay warm and swing through the golf ball without being, trapped in your clothing. So whether it's their pullover hoodie or their Thermo Series hybrid jacket, I mean, there's so many options.
Did you ever think we would be wearing Thermo Series in Florida last week?
No. But it was in the 30s.
39 degrees at tee off.
Thank God we had it.
Saved us.
We brought it for that reason.
Yeah.
So there you go. Case in point. So forget about checking the forecast and things like that. Just trust FootJoy. Go to FootJoy.com. Pick up some Thermo Series. Throw it in your bag and play in any condition, anytime, anywhere.
All right. So we talked largely about why things really came together for the TGL and how they really got what they asked for, what they wanted. We saw that in like the reactions from Tiger, from the audience, from everybody. The question now shifts to, has LIV gotten really what it wanted? The big news last week was, of course, the signing of Rick Shields. So I want to talk really quickly about whether that was good for LIV, whether that was good for Rick. And then I also want to wrap that into like a bigger picture of, is this something that, is LIV really kind of winning that battle of attention when it comes to social media? And what is the PGA Tour's response going to be? Because when it comes down to it, really all we've seen from the PGA Tour is the announcement last year of the Creator Council, who was notably left off that Creator Council? Well, Rick Shields. Yep. And there's not a lot of reason for that if you really think about it.
I think it'd be number one.
You would, and not to take anything away, I think there's a place for all size creators and their audiences, and we'd be hypocritical to say otherwise because we're creators ourselves. We're nowhere near the size of these other guys. But when you look at the Creator Council and you see there are some much smaller in audience size names than Rick, why would Rick be left out of that? Makes me very much wonder, did the PGA Tour know way back then that Rick was going to go to LIV and hence leave him out? Mm-hmm. Or otherwise, is it possible that Rick felt snubbed by being left out of that and that was one of his driving forces of signing with LIV? Regardless, you had that on the PGA Tour side, and you had the Creator Cup,
sure,
which it drew some attention. And at the end of the day, you could kind of weigh that the creators might not have gotten that much out of the whole thing. They got a video for each of their channels, but I didn't see any of that being any bigger content than a lot of them could have made on their own. So that's really the only thing that I'm seeing on the PGA Tour side. Now, going to Rick, this is kind of split, and this is where I want you guys to weigh in. It seems like it's what with LIV is not polarizing.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
It seems like yet another very polarizing thing. Rick made the big announcement. It owned social media for at least 2 days. The news cycle was just that. It seemed like my entire feed was people posting about Rick going over to LIV. There was the full hammed up moment of him, taking the jacket, borrowing the jacket from John Rahm. He's wearing all of the gear. But there was definitely some fan reaction to it because we saw Rick lose 20,000 subscribers on his main channel in a matter of 2 or 3 days. In fact, I was looking at some of the trends, and it was the first time Rick's overall subscriber growth trended down. It's always moving up. He's always compounding and getting more subscribers. But interestingly, if you look at his viewership his views are still going up. So there may be some people, there's going to be at the end of the day, a portion of the audience, and we see it in comments on the podcast that we do here. There's going to be certain people who will never take well to LIV, and they could be voicing their opinion by unsubscribing, but who knows? They may still end up watching what he does.
Yeah.
But there's no denying, and you look at some of Rick's recent videos, the comments were pretty tough on him.
Sure. Yeah.
And again, even comments, even if you pick up 1,000 comments on a video that has, 500,000 views, you realize that's a very small, minute portion of the total audience, but they often sometimes are the loudest audience.
Sure, right.
And they were saying, he's sold out, and, he used to talk, unfavorably about LIV, and now he goes to LIV. So I'm sure there's a degree of it that Rick was aware that he was going to take some degree of a backlash and a hit from a portion of his audience. But at the end of the day, you think about it, even though that number can sound shocking, 20,000 subscribers lost, he's coming up on 3 million subscribers.
It's like 1%.
You're talking about a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, it's something he probably won't feel. But you're right. I mean, I'm sure the viewership will still go up. And I think part of his deal with LIV is he's just going to be creating content with the players. He's going to all 14 events on the LIV circuit, which is all around the world, which is, a big thing. And once he's there, he's probably spending the whole week there.
Yeah.
And he's just going to be filming all different types of content. So my question to you is this a good move for LIV? Is this something that's smart for them to go after the biggest number-wise golf creator in the world and promote it?
I think it was a no-brainer for LIV because I think unlike Rick, and not just Rick, John Rahm, Dustin Johnson way back, the players and personalities who go over to LIV are the ones who assume all the risk.
Right.
Right? Because at the end of the day, LIV's pockets being as deep as they are, even if they paid, and it's been speculated, I saw some other takes on it. I got shout out to Mr. Short Game. I saw he did a take on this where he kind of back of the napkin math kind of came up with a number of around $10 million.
That's the number I keep hearing.
That he thinks went
X years.
To Rick, if, let's say it's $10 million over 3 years. Talk about drop in the bucket. I mean, that's big money for a creator.
Sure.
But on the other side of that coin, it's drop in the bucket to LIV, right? You see the kind of money that they've been investing in the league, that's a side byline that's almost nothing to them. So what they're effectively doing is they know they're going to get a guaranteed minimum number of views. They know how many views that Rick's channel brings in. They're going to get eyeballs on their events. They're going to get eyeballs on their players. They assume no risk because there's no controversy for them in partnering with Rick.
Right. And to that point, Rick's videos with these players could get 800,000, 1.2 million, which is probably more than the LIV stream, the whole event.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it is a smart play on their part.
Well, now I have to look at the big picture and say, who's owning the attention of YouTube golf, right? And if you really think about this for a second, YouTube golf is a demographic that undoubtedly both the PGA Tour, TGL, and LIV want, because it's a younger audience. It's a very fast growing audience. So they all want that attention. It'd be hard to say, and if you guys think otherwise, let me know in the comments, but it'd be hard to say that LIV is not in a lot of ways winning that. And what I mean by that is you just signed who has been, as a legacy, been the biggest YouTuber. Now, you could say he's not necessarily the biggest in the moment. You think like guys like Grant, Horvat, Bob Does Sports, Barstool, they're really in the moment picking up a lot of views and in a lot of ways outpacing Rick. But Rick is in a lot of ways been called the king of YouTube for a reason. He's been around. He's got almost 3 million subscribers. Yep. Now they've got him signed, wearing the hats, full behind LIV, right? On top of that, you have guys like Grant Horvat, who is the man of the moment, right? He's playing regular matches with LIV guys. Phil Mickelson, he now is even working very closely with Phil in Primo Golf apparel.
Yeah.
So you're going to see lots and lots more between the two of them. And every time that Phil Mickelson is on a Grant Horvat video, You have him wearing high flyers head to toe. He's talking about his experience on LIV. So it is undoubtedly a publicity moment for them.
Yeah, it's smart. Yeah, they went after where the PGA Tour was staying away from.
Right,
I mean, for LIV, it's like, what is PGA Tour not doing and paying creators? Even the Creator Cup, we were saying before earlier, they barely even got paid to go and do that.
So you have those two big moments. And then on the top of that, you have arguably the hottest guy in YouTube right now, YouTube Golf, is Bryson, who is, in fact, a LIV guy. So LIV has very smartly leaned into this hard. You're seeing, like I said, even placement before Rick started his formal announcement with LIV, you saw him playing matches with Sergio Garcia.
Right.
You're seeing Ian Poulter playing matches with these guys. So the amount of coverage that they're getting on YouTube is staggering. Contrast that with the PGA Tour. PGA Tour has been very, very notoriously, and it's a big gripe that Phil Mickelson had from the start, very tight with their rights of, as far as like who can use their name, the players, anything tied to the PGA Tour. Now, players can still do what they want, but I think that there's a lot that can be done for the PGA Tour taking the shackles off some of these guys. Another guys I think are some of the biggest creators on the planet right now, Bryan Brothers. They're on the PGA Tour's player council. Why would they not allow more collaborative stuff? Wesley's playing on the PGA Tour. Yeah. Allow a little bit more of that visibility. And we know even ourselves from working with the PGA Tour in the past, just how difficult that can be at times to kind of navigate their media rights and be able to film things at events or otherwise.
Yeah, the lowest hanging fruit for PGA Tour is to bring in creators like a Grant, like a Bob the Sports, somebody, bring them out to a Monday Pro-Am, or was it Wednesday Pro-Am, and just like make the offer, like you could play in the Pro-Am, put the content out like during the event to promote it. Just that's low hanging fruit. Like you can come here to Torrey Pines, you can play it, you can film all your shots, all the player shots, you have the blessing. And your banter back and forth with Tony Finau walking down the fairway, like do that to grow this tournament and the eyeballs, get people back here.
No different than what LIV is going to be doing with Rick, where he's going to be playing ahead of each event.
But PGA Tour won't be doing that. They still don't allow you to show the stuff.
Similarly, where's the response where we're now seeing another creator announce that they've partnered with the PGA Tour? We haven't heard that.
No, we haven't.
We heard, like I said, the Player Advisory Council was something that hit news headlines for about a day. You didn't really hear much other than that, what they're doing, and whatever they're doing is being done behind closed doors.
Yeah,
the PGA Tour may come to them for an opinion here and there, but there's nothing more than that. Where's the big pomp and circumstance like we saw smartly again with the way LIV handled it? They got the publicity out of it. They didn't quietly sign Rick. It was one of the loudest things we've seen in a long time, even the anticipation building up to it. Where is Bob Does Sports is, partners with the PGA Tour.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where is, Bryan Brothers to become the creator faces of the PGA Tour?
Yeah.
Where is that big announcement is something that we haven't seen. And now, even in a way, kind of playing into the drama and the side taking of it, where you say okay, he's with LIV, now I'm with this other big guys with PGA Tour, and let that play out the way it plays out. In a lot of ways, it just feels like to me that the PGA Tour is slipping behind, and I think the entry to that would be if someone makes that type of announcement with TGL, because I think it's lower hanging fruit. We're seeing a lot of musicians and other celebrities becoming kind of face partners with certain teams on the TGL. I think that's smart. But as far as the PGA Tour goes, it just seems like they continue business as usual. And I don't know if business as usual is a luxury that can be had in professional golf anymore with everything changing around them.
I know. And what scares me the most about PGA Tour is, I don't know if you've seen the fields. With Scotty sideline, Xander out, Ricky's not even in the Farmers. The fields just seem sad. Granted, it's great for these young players, these no-namers, but as a entertainment product, it's not what you want.
Yeah, well, you had a lot of people pull out with the flu,
That too. I mean, it's just, Scotty comes back this week at the AT&T. All right, maybe things will start to ramp up a little bit. But again,
you got Rory.
Yeah,
you got
Rory
signature. You got a signature event again, and like I said, I am giving some leeway to the PGA Tour that they haven't hit their full stride yet. We're still in January. I think the tour really starts to heat up in April.
Yeah, waste management next week.
Right. I'm interested to see how the Masters plays out and what kind of comes out of that. But like I said, with no, as we've said so many times, like with no real clear answer anymore of if these tours are going to come together, you have to start to look at them about the moves that they're each making. And I would have to say on a PR side, I think the TGL and LIV are doing really strong things to strengthen their brand. I get that the TGL is part of the PGA Tour, is kind of an arm of the PGA Tour, but as entities, they're still all trying to pull viewership, brand awareness, and I feel like the moves that are being made and that are being validated by what we saw this week with TGL are huge, and I think the PGA Tour needs to take away from that. I will say really quickly something I didn't mention before. I told you I would give you those quotes on what Rory and Tiger had to say about last night. Tiger said, "This is what we had envisioned for TGL, to have an experience like this, and I think we delivered." And Rory backing that up, saying it was a great match all night, back and forth, exactly what the league needed. And there was one more quote that I pulled because I thought it was really important, kind of showing the overall vision of what Rory really wanted and what was kind of behind the scenes of this. Rory said, "One of the visions when we started was to try and engage that younger demographic and give them a bite-sized version of golf that they could get into and understand. And hopefully we've done that." So smart, in a lot of ways, like we said, I think a big driver of why so many have gone, especially the younger demographics have gone to YouTube Golf, is that they can watch an entire match of their favorite creators or their favorite creator versus a PGA Tour or LIV guy in an hour. Right. Versus an entire, like half a day on the PGA Tour. So it's bite-sized, and I think they would have had their most bite-sized moment if that hole-in-one had gone in. Yeah. So a lot of positives there, but I definitely want your opinions, so drop them in the comments. Make sure you subscribe because, like I said, we're going to do an entire show talking about our own personal experience attending a LIV event, not a LIV event, of a PG, maybe this year. Maybe we'll make it to a LIV event. You never know. But a TGL event, we got a chance to go from the fan experience and flip the script and the behind-the-scenes experience and see what the players do. Player locker
room was sick.
All access. We're going to do a full podcast on that, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you in the next one.